through this. Maybe tomorrow I'll run just the guest rooms by themselves and see where they break. Although the fix might have taken care of it, but see like where they break. And get a bunch of people to join in and see how long it takes to break it if it's going to break. Since that was the part that was causing the problem. So, but unfortunately, you have to run the streams to find the problems, and that's the situation. Let me make sure the stream's up now. Cool, the stream is up, and should be good to go. All right, and 1 second. There we go, stream's up. Let me make sure the chat's running. Sorry about the situation there, friends. It turns out that the software for the guest room had some data problems and kept taking down other stuff with it. So I'm just going to switch over to. This is my first time trying to use it during a live stream. Oh, why is it frozen? What just happened? Did my camera freeze? That's interesting. I re-add the camera. Oh, it doesn't re-add. Of course it doesn't re-add. Why? Why are you frozen? Why must you do this? Get a camera fix here in a second. This wouldn't have happened when Harambe was still alive. I know that much. That much is obviously true. My camera, friends, is giving me some permission issues. Can y'all hear me though? I bet you can hear me. So no camera. Yeah, I know. Sorry. I'm trying to add my something on my oh, I see. Video Ninja is trying to steal my camera. Can I just turn that off for now? What if I just turn that off? Hi, Video Ninja. We'll come back to you in a sec. Video Ninja being persistent, little bugger. Of course, now fuck. Maybe I should just give Video Ninja my camera and import it from Video Ninja for now. A hell of a day. I did not expect to turn into. Hey, let's see what doesn't work on the software today. Hey, Kitty, what are you doing on the desk? Come here, baby. Come here, baby. I can't see the screen. Come on. All right, Volta. Volta over here trying to break what's left. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Yeah. I just took you off the desk. Come here. Off the desk. Come on. You're knocking everything over. This is why we can't have nice things. Of course. Try this again. All right. Volta the Hellraiser over here breaking everything. I know, right? Give me 1 second. I gotta figure out what's stealing my camera. I expect this kind of bullshit on Windows. I don't expect this kind of shit on a Mac. Mac doesn't really care that much about permissions. You just do whatever the fuck you want on a Mac. Well, this is something. Shit. Everything works but the camera. I'm just gonna fucking import the camera from Video Ninja. Call it a day. Let's see now. Is this an Opera issue? Opera. I'm on Video Ninja with Opera and won't find my camera either. Is my camera just not? Is Opera rebelling against me? If I can close all of her out. Okay. Well, I seem to fix it. And we're good to go. And just like that, the classic turn it off and turn it back on again seemed to do some corrections. So awesome. Good to go. Cool. Well, anyways, nevertheless, let me grab, let's see, I want to grab Video Ninja in a different browser. And we'll get the Video Ninja guest room open. My deepest apologies. We're gonna fucking answer some questions here tonight still yet. All right, let's see. Bada bing, bada boom. Wait, what do you mean Safari can't open the page? Did I not copy the whole thing? Yes, hopefully Video Ninja works on Safari. Yeah, I'll allow that too. All right, Video Ninja seems to work on Safari just fine. All right, let me get the audio routed real quick. All right. They should hear the audio. Now let me get the audio from them routed over. All right, the audio from them should be coming over. And let's see, I gotta change the link on the screen to this link here. Shit, I forgot what the old link was. It should be. Let me check OBS. While we're doing that, let me grab some super chats. I'll get the guest box open, and we'll keep on rolling here. Let's see. The Video Ninja guest box should be. Shit, what was the old link? Got it saved in my Google Drive. What a night, y'all. What a night. All right, let's see. Oh, well, that's the wrong Google Drive. Yeah, it's me, I know. Two-factor authentication is now like three-factor. It's going to be 4-factor authentication pretty soon, actually. All right, here's my document of Video Ninja links. And the old join link was maybe, let's see, maybe this one. We'll find out. We will fucking find out. I think that's the link we want there. If not, it's fine. Yeah, that should be the link. Cool. All right, let's go to tiny.cc and change the link. I finally got on tinycc my website cleared as well. I got it whitelisted, so I can change this link to be anything I need it to be. There we go. Save the, wait, domain not allowed. Video Ninja is not allowed anymore. No way. When did, okay. Well, sure. I didn't, all right. I didn't know Video Ninja was needed whitelisted here. Cool. Well, let me just copy a link and obfuscate it real quick. All right then. I did not know that this was going to be a problem for Video Ninja. Wonder what they did. They made somebody mad. That's what they did. All right. Oh, they added a bunch of new features. Interesting. Interesting. All right, copy that link over there. Save the changes. Boom. Okay, that should work now. And then we'll just have someone test out here in a second. Let me put the prompt back up on the board. Let's see. So the prompt is going to be right here. Oh, what's the prompt about there? Oh, about yay? No, there we go. And put this guy about there. Yeah, there we go. The camera back here, and the camera back here, and now we go. There we go. Cool. The link on the screen, tiny.cc/DZ live, should be good. I see somebody popping into the chat right now. Give me one moment. Although there is, let's see, where's the mute buttons in here? There we go. There was one invite link that I forgot to check. When they come in, it's really helpful if they can come in not with the audio blazing. Let's see. We do want to ask for display names. Let's see, we do want to display the names. Cool, all right. Auto select default microphone, sure. Auto select default camera. Let's see, hide screen sharing. Yeah, we do want to do that. Select an avatar, sure. Sure, disable animations, yeah. All right, let's see. Enable audio compressor, no. Equalizer, no. Setup tips, no. Let's see. Camera muted on join, no. There we go. Guest muted, guest muted. There we go. Those are all the options we want. I'm going to copy that link and put that into tiny.cc. And boom. Now we're good to go. All right. That should take care of that. Cool. And then I'm going to plug in, if you don't mind, the guest scene real quick. And we should be good to go. Oh, wrong button. Cancel. Card. Properties. Hey, how you doing? Give me just 1 second. Do you have a name? Nah. Okay. 1 second. All right. Cool. We're going to add that to both screens. All right. That's going to be our guest box. Oop. Oh, he doesn't know I can hear him, huh? It should be fun. All right. We got guest boxes. And then the last thing to do is let me route the audio real quick so that everyone can hear everybody else. All right, y'all can hear me. Can they hear me? Probably not. Let's see. To the guests. Yeah, they should be able to hear me, interestingly enough. They don't. Or see. They should be able to hear me. Should be able to hear me now. And should also be able to hear me now. You can hear me now, right? Oh, I bet you can't hear me now because of the filtering. Hold on. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Can you hear me? I think that virtual cable wasn't getting picked up on Video Ninja, but it's fine. Can you hear me? We got two guests in the guest room right now. Let me unmute Kai. Kai, can you hear me? Cool. Perfect. I think something's wrong with that guy's stuff. I'm going to add your audio real quick, the guest room audio real quick to the live stream so everyone can hear the guests. and we should be ready to rock and roll. All right, let's see. Okay, so we should be able to hear you now, Kai. We have one more second to add you to the scene, although you don't have a camera on. But Kai, say something for us and make sure everyone can hear you. Oh, that didn't quite make it into the soundboard. 1 second. Say it one more time. Oh, interesting. It did not like your audio is not going where it's supposed to for some reason. Let me double check something. All right, try it now. Nice. Interesting. Didn't like that virtual cable. Maybe something's grabbing it. Let me get a unused virtual cable, and we'll try that real quick. All right, let's try that one. I didn't like that either. What a bummer. 1 second. There's got to be. Why is video? There's got to be a permission issue with Safari. Safari is not accepting my virtual cables. Let me see if there's a permission on here. Let's see. I can use a browser bus. Let me see if it lets me do a browser bus. It does not let me do a browser bus. Well, shit. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try using Chrome rather than Safari. Apparently you can't do this on Safari. I didn't know Safari was going to be an issue for Video Ninja. Okay, I got it loaded up in Chrome. Give me a second. You can hear me? Okay. Okay, cool. So then give me 1 second. Let me add your audio up here. I don't know why Safari was acting weird. I usually use Safari on my laptop. It doesn't give me too many problems, but I guess today is just going to be one of those days where it does, you know, whatever it wants to. All right, 1 more second. We should be good to go. All right, say something for me.
Yeah, hello, I'm Kai from Austria.
Yeah, they all heard you, and I'm gonna just turn on the audio to me real quick, and then I'll be able to hear you. 1 second.
So you use a fucking brain, but where's it fucking connected?
Okay. Everyone should be able to hear you, and I can hear you now.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, we should be good to go. Hey, what's on your mind today? What's your name again?
Kai.
Oh, hold on. There's a lot of people in here. One of them got unmuted by accident. Kai, this is a Q&A. You can probably see my camera, but you can't see my screen yet. I'll show you my screen, the live stream here in just a minute. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I have two things on my mind. One question about the baptism of Jesus.
Okay.
I watched you on a live debate, on a live. You constantly reminded the caller that the baptism happening when the dove comes from the heavens.
Right.
So, but I can't wrap my head around why does that indicate that Jesus was dipped in the water at that moment?
Well, in the text, it says that the dove came as he was being baptized. Which of the Gospels are you in?
Oh, I only remember the debate. I'm not versed in the Bible at all. I can't tell you. It was
Okay.
about the two stories from the timeline when who was doing the baptism? The name of
John?
the guy who John the Baptist. Yeah, there were two timelines or two stories that contradict the timeline when Jesus came to the to John to the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So,
the point
mhm.
you made was especially about when Jesus got baptized in. So the baptism is the dipping in the water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you always said not especially it's the dipping in the water. You said the baptism happened when the dove came from the heavens.
Well, no, the baptism is being dipped in the water. The dove just came during the baptism.
Yeah, where does it say these two things have to happen together at the same time?
Well, they don't have to.
That's
There's no dove
okay.
requirement.
So okay, so like this caller in this debate said, so it could be that something happens before or after the dove came from the heavens.
I might not understand the question. Can you clarify?
The baptism could happen before or after Jesus came to the river.
You mean he was baptized twice?
Yeah, now I got confused myself. It was so clear in my mind because I focused on problem with when the baptism happened. Is the baptism, the dipping in the water, only can it only happen when the dove came down?
Well,
That
the
was
baptism is just Jesus being dipped in the water by John, right? The fact that the dove
yeah,
was there isn't all that critical or meaningful to the story. I mean, it's meaningful to the story because it's supposed to give validation to Jesus, right? It's like
yeah.
the Bible's way of saying, "Hey, look, Jesus is really special because, look at this thing, right, that happened during the baptism." But the doves are not required for baptisms, only for magic shows.
Yeah, that's what I think I understand. The dove is only the indicator that it's Jesus is special.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I understand what you said is it doesn't matter if the dove came down right at the moment when Jesus was dipped in the water.
No, the timing's not all that critical. So I think the
Okay.
conversation you might be referring to had more to do with there was a discussion about whether or not John chapter 1 is retelling the baptism events. And if so, then it's contradicting the synoptics. There's a contradiction in the synoptics because he goes directly into the desert in the synoptics for 40 days and then he comes in and calls his disciples. But in the Gospel of John, immediately after his baptism, he calls the disciples, and there's no 40 days in the wilderness. So you've got a timeline discrepancy. And there have been some apologists that try to like clear that up a little bit, but they don't do a good job of it.
No, that I understand. That was clear from the debate. Yes, I only fixated on the moment of the baptism and then the dove coming down. That was a little thing I couldn't wrap my. Where does it say the dove marks the moment of the dipping in the water? That was my fixation.
Oh no, I don't believe it does. I don't think the dove is like the baptism marker. But if you're asking, because the conversation we were having is, how do you know that the dove, or that how do you know that John chapter 1 is the baptism, like, as opposed to something else? And the marker, the way you know that it's the baptism, because it recounts all of the stuff, including the dove from the other synoptic baptism stories.
So the marker that is it coming from the dove coming from the heavens?
Yeah, the dove coming from the heavens is important. That's how you know that it's trying to tell you the same story.
Yep. Yeah.
Does that
Okay,
make sense?
that answers my first question perfectly. Yeah, it was like a brain hiccup on my part, I think.
Oh, it happens to
But
all
it's
of us.
clear
Don't worry.
now. Yeah. The second one, I'm a little bit afraid to tell you because I really like M. I really like him, but I really have a hard time understanding him.
I mean,
It's really
that's,
hard. Is
that's a real thing.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe it is possible because he is so soft with his lips with the D and T and K and G, and it makes it really hard to understand him. Maybe his microphone should be a little tweak or something like that.
We do actually. He does actually have a professional microphone now. The problem is he can't always be with it. So Ems is a doctor. He does doctor's rotations, and for a while he was working a second job as well. And then he's also here chilling on the live streams. And sometimes when he joins, he's just on his cell phone. Like he can't really, you know what I mean? So it's
I wasn't sure about that, but sometimes it was better, and I didn't track it right away. Now you say second mic. Okay. So no offense. I just wanted to put it in.
no worries. Yeah. But
Okay.
Ems is like the best at what he does. So you kind of have to. We just kind of put put it in the basket of like, well, this is this happens sometimes, and hopefully one day we can get him over into the USA or Canada. But for now, we've got to work with what we can. He's also on the other side of the world. No.
He isn't in the US.
He's completely on the other side of the world. Like when he's in my live stream, it's like 3 a.m. sometimes, 4 a.m. for him.
Yeah, like me, I stood up at 1:30 in the morning, and like the
Right.
stream, the live did go today. It was a little bit hard to wait.
It was a little bit shaky. I created some software that was working to replace like 5 other pieces of software, but it was my first time using the new guest box feature, and apparently it was malfunctioning. It took me a long time to figure it out. So I got everything sorted out. I'm just using Video Ninja for doing my guest box now. But unfortunately, when you're testing new software, you find the bugs in real time. And today I discovered that my guest box feature needs some more work. So I'll have to work on that tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get it up to snuff. But nevertheless, many apologies for the streams today, kind of on and off.
Oh, no worries. And that explains why the guest box acted up. Yeah, I had a hard time with the guest box today. You didn't see me at all. I was waiting all night.
The guests were kind of coming in and coming out and coming in and coming out. And I was like, something's wrong. There's connection issues and whatnot. I did finally figure out what the connection issue was, but it's neither here nor there. We can fall back to Video Ninja now that we know that was the problem,
Yeah, I'm happy it's functioning, especially because I'm in the middle of the Austrian Alps in a wooden cabin on a mountain about 1,600 meters up.
Oh, damn.
Yes.
Sounds nice.
Oh, I have wonderful 4 months here on the mountains in the summer with my cows and in the cabin and my dog. It's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe
And
you.
I have a church, and I have a church on top on the mountain. It's called Maria Schnee,
Oh,
Maria Snow. Yeah,
okay.
it's from the, I think, 15th or 1600s, especially for built from something Maria did. I don't know. I'm an atheist, so I don't care.
Oh, like like Saint Mary, like who's which Maria?
Mother Mary, the Mother of
Gotcha. Yeah,
Jesus.
that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I
I
wouldn't spend too
don't
much
know
time
the
on that
English
either.
word for to translate. It's a special church in the way for what it's built for, because Maria did a thing, I think a healing or preventing something, and to thank Maria, they built a church, and always every year they bring up the statue of Maria in the beginning of the year, and then end of the year. Yeah, they take it down back in the valley, and they have special mass over on 2-3 days in the summer to thank Maria for what she did or prevent. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I don't know either, but
Yeah,
you probably know more than I do. Well, listen, friend, I appreciate you stopping by, and I appreciate you watching the channel too. We should be
thank you.
having actual debate tomorrow night, so pop in tomorrow, and we'll have some more fun.
Since I'm an atheist, hardcore atheist, so I don't know what I could contribute.
Just watch and like and share. That's all.
Oh, that I do. I watch you the last weeks through.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Listen,
Thank you.
Kai, it's good to hear from you, and take care. Okay.
Thank you. You too. Love what
Cheers,
you're
friend.
doing. Bye bye.
Thank you. Oh, it's nice. All right, let me grab a couple super chats. Sorry, we got. To be clear, I did. I made a one change while we were loading new sessions so that I can always gather super chats from past live streams. So when we have days like today where things crash, I don't have to do anything weird to go and retrieve those super chats. They'll just be available to me. So we're good to go there. If you send a super chat, it is not only saved in my database, but it will automatically load to my studio. I won't have to go find it and dig it out. Tax? Oh, tax to church. Fucking A, yeah. Why would God bless Jacob if him and his mom lied and cheated to get the inheritance or let Isaac give it to him? So this is a pretty fair question. It comes up a lot. And the reality is God shouldn't have blessed him. So one of the issues, though, that you have to contend with in the ancient world, though, is that blessings were, while it was true that like God, the only reason why blessings come true is because God makes them come true. But the reality is God, like theoretically, will honor someone's blessings, right? So if you're a man of God or a woman of God and you utter a blessing on somebody, God typically carries it out. Like once he's imbued a certain amount of trust in you, the blessings that you utter are going to be the blessings that happen. It's just one of those weird things. It's not very well spelled out in the Bible, but this is how people thought in the ancient world. Same thing with curses. You could utter a curse on somebody. As long as you did the rituals right, the curse would come true. And so that's why it's a sin in the Bible to curse your mother and father, so much so that you would be cursed with being stoned, or you'd be punished with being stoned. And does free will exist? The answer is no. It says, has anyone ever addressed how Jesus' mother could have made it to Jerusalem for Jesus' crucifixion if she lived in Nazareth? Distance and time an issue? Well, my guess is she was already in Jerusalem for the Passover, which is what Jesus was doing there, and his disciples were there as well. And the other disciples seemed to be there too. Remember, they were at Bethany, right? Let me get you the destination. Where is Bethany? Hold on, let me get you the location. Let's see. Bethany shouldn't be too far from Israel. I'm going to grab it. It should be too far from Israel. I mean, it shouldn't be too far from Jerusalem. I'm going to grab, yeah, Bethany. Let me get a good map. Is there a good map here? These Bible, well, this is good enough. All right, let me copy the address of this image. There we go. Copy image address. I'll put it on the screen for y'all real quick. Cool. I'll put it on the other screen. There we go. Got it. So Bethany, as you can see, and sorry, it's just an image. It's not an actual web page. Bethany is not too far from Jerusalem, right? So that seems to be where they would have traveled as some kind of a cohort for the Passover, and they probably would all been staying together with friends or relatives. So it does make sense. I get your understanding. Like Nazareth is far away. How'd you get there? But that's most likely what happened. They probably took a journey with some of the others and, whatnot. Evil Banana says, I'm an atheist, but what's one thing about the Bible you learned this past year that changed or challenged what you previously believed about it? Just this last year? That's a good question. About the Bible itself, I'll tell you one thing. My buddy Chet was doing a mini series on TikTok, and he was going through. Everyone knows that there are passages in the Bible that are pre-exilic, and it's hard to know if you're a layperson, like where those are, even if you know Hebrew. But Chet did a really cool deep dive on his TikTok channel, going through some of the passages in the Hebrew Bible that are clearly post-exilic, how we know they're post-exilic, and through some of the Hebrew grammar that really helps to paint the picture. I like that one a lot. That was good because, well, I'm still, my opinion's not changing, but I'm still developing some of my opinion on when certain parts were written. And I believe for a long time that the Elohist source was the oldest source. And it seems like a lot of the broader academic community is now kind of feeling and believing the same way. They used to think that the Yahwist was earlier. But nevertheless, when it comes to textual criticism and how the text came together, it seems that there were quite a bit of sources that were like genuinely early. And it's not really super debatable anymore, although it used to be. So I guess that's what I would say was exciting to work with or to learn on. And HR says pair of bulls DZ. Pair of bulls for parables. I like it. Listen, it's good. We'll take that one. Also, an update from there we go, from Steve says, so Landrew took you again to join the body. This is undoubtedly a quote or a saying from Star Trek that I'm going to have to look into. And Good Question says, in the DZ Live server, I can't hear the show. Oh, interesting. Thank you for letting me know. Oh, wait, how old is that? That is from, what time? 9:29, so that was a while ago. You should be fine. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. And from Galton? So, why does Why does Deshaun Watson only watch Disney movies? Because all he wants are happy endings. Yeah, that is the case. And you know what? I'm just glad we're finally close to the end of the Deshaun Watson debacle. The day they made that trade, I thought it was the dumbest trade in history. The day that was today, I still think it's the dumbest trade in history because it's factually the dumbest trade in history. Music says, third stream of the day, praise be to Almighty Doug, our one true God. Yes, it is true that I am working through a couple kinks on the new software, and it turns out that the guest box was a huge problem it kept building data and grabbing server resources, and then eventually making me run out of resources. So I disabled the new guest box and brought in Video Ninja, and using that. It seems to be fine now. I'll have to work on that. There's some sort of a the garbage collection isn't working properly on it. We'll get that taken care of. Not a problem. And music with the second one says, I offer this tribute to Doug. Praise be to Doug. Well, thank you. I really do appreciate that. Let me grab one more chat, then we're going to get some guests in here because we had a lot of people come in and been waiting for a while. Hunter Girl, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. I got to make this a little bit taller so I can see the whole thing. Says, road up Mount Blue Sky, highest paved road in the U.S., 14,000 feet. Damn. Yesterday, found out my old youth pastor's son was, deleted by a lightning strike about 10 minutes after we left the peak. Literally don't know what to say to them besides I'm sorry. I mean, first of all, yes, right? No matter who dies, like the reality is they're people. They care about somebody. Somebody cares about them. You want to treat them with some kind of respect, even if you didn't like them. After that, though, it's situational. You got to figure out what the right thing to say is in your particular situation. But the irony, the irony of a youth pastor's son getting struck by lightning is kind of hard to pass up. You don't want to rub it in. That's mean, right? But it's a little, the irony is a little bit thick on that particular one. So let me I want to see if there's anyone in the box that had been here earlier, just to make sure the people that were waiting the longest get in. And I'm not sure any of the people that were waiting here a long time ago came back. I do see some familiar faces. Let me grab Sarah, and then I'm going to grab Billy Sipes. Although, Billy, your connection is kind of going in and out a little bit. I can see your connection. So let me grab Sarah, and if you have the opportunity, Billy, to connect to some Wi-Fi, let me know. I'll grab you next. And with that, welcome in Sarah.
Hi. I just wanted to know the song, When the Saints Go Marching In. What the heck is that about?
Oh, interesting. You know what? I used to know that back when I was in like grade school, because we had to learn it in Catholic school, but I don't even remember anymore. It's supposed to be, if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be reminiscent of the Crusades, but let me see.
Because isn't there some story about when Jesus is being crucified that the saints are rising up from the dead and they go marching into the city? Is it about that?
Oh, no. Hold on. That's Matthew 27, and I don't believe it was about that. Let me see what the origin of it was. Let's see, because this was done in 1938, right? This is when it's saints is traditional spiritual Christian hymn. Blah blah blah. Let's see. Okay, all right. The origin says apparently evolved. Somebody titled gospel songs. Let's see. Doesn't have much. But it. Oh, this is about the Book of Revelation. Okay, now that I'm looking at the lyrics, it's actually pretty clear. The lyrics show when the saints go marching in. Oh Lord, I want to be in that number. I want to be among them. Says when the drums begin to bang, I want to be in that number. When the stars fall from the sky, that's Revelation. When the sun refuses to shine, Revelation, Matthew 24. Oh, when the moon turns red with blood, Revelation. When the trumpet sounds, Revelation. When the horseman begins to ride. So yeah, this is about the saints entering the kingdom of heaven when Jesus comes back and we're at the end times, the eschatological period.
Those are awfully dismal lyrics for such a jaunty song.
I mean, it's not flattering. I would say that.
I mean, that does sound terrifying. And I just learned about Matthew 27, and I was wondering if they had a connection, because the zombie saints do sound also very...
Yeah. The zombie apocalypse is definitely one of those things where Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you would think there might be a connection, but I don't. As far as I can tell, there's no connection going on there.
Okay. Well, thanks for the background.
Yeah, sure
And I
thing.
love your
Thanks for
show.
coming by.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's an interesting connection if there was one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that there is one there, but intriguing. All right, let's grab our next guest. Let's see, where's Billy? Billy's over here. All right. All right. Hey, Billy, welcome in. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. I was a little bit. Is it loud for everyone or just me? Your microphone's really good.
I can turn it down a bit.
Oh, you're okay. I mean, it's fine for me. It's not a problem for me.
Okay. Yeah, so that last call was actually interesting because I was actually thinking about something else that is completely separate, but it's the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which is a very famous song, but it's based off of a different song that was John Brown's Body, which was all about John Brown's basic attempt to stop slavery. And they more or less took John Brown out of the song and replaced it with Jesus, which is
Oh.
kind of hilarious to me.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
something you should look up because it started off as a soldier song around basically around the campfires, and it was John Brown bodies lies a moldering in the grave. Rather than Jesus goes marching on. So something that you should definitely take a look at because it was definitely appropriated to kind of make it a little bit more Christian after it got more popularized by the war.
That's pretty wild. I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, one of those random fun facts you can look into. What I was actually going to call in and ask about, and I kind of said this in a super chat before, but why does it seem like Satan / Lucifer is two different characters in the Bible? Like, why does it seem like there are two different beings entirely? Because on the one hand, you have this idea of you've got this great enemy against God, and on the other hand, there are times where God just sits down and has a bet with him, and is like, "Yeah, let's have a chit chat about this," and it's strange.
Well, there's three versions of Satan. In the earlier portions of the Hebrew Bible, you have a Satan who's part of a divine council. He kind of has a job to do. His job is to be almost like a henchman for God. And he's not in Genesis. Genesis, the snake has nothing to do with Satan. But he does show up elsewhere, most famously in Job. And remember, in Job, he's not a bad guy. He's God's tester. He's God's... he has to go out and test the people to see what's going on, right? Nevertheless, later on, by the time you get to Zechariah, you got this really weird situation where the idea of Satan being an actual static character is come up, and by this time they needed a villain, and because the Persians, when they came into Zoroastrianism, had a counterpart to God that explained why all the bad things are happening. Christianity didn't really have that. So they already had this guy in the zeitgeist that was like, hey, when God needs bad stuff done, Satan comes down and does all the dirty work. So they kind of morphed Satan into this guy from about beyond Zechariah towards the time of Jesus, where he progressively got worse and worse until the point where he was like the evil nemesis and counterpart to God. Whereas that wasn't the original intention, because even in Zechariah, you've probably read Zechariah chapter 1-4, where God's having a conversation with them. The angel of the Lord's over here, Satan's over here. They're just he goes from Satan to the Satan, and now he's an official character and whatnot. And this is because they needed a bad guy. They needed a way to explain away the bad stuff. And then by the time you get to Jesus, it's fully fledged, fully developed. Well, obviously, the reason why bad things happen is because it's not just Satan, but look at all these demons that follow Satan. There's a legion of evil entities out here fighting the forces of darkness or the forces of light. And, you know, the forces of light have to win the battle. That's why in the book of Daniel, 2nd century, you know, you've got this idea of like the angel, the protector of God's people, has to go and fight against the prince of Persia and fight against the prince of Greece. Prince isn't in Daniel isn't referring to human, it's referring to the angels. The angels were referred to as princes because they were leaders over the individual nations. So there's this ancient idea that every individual nation had its own like a god or divine figure over top of it, which is why like even in Kings, when Naaman comes for healing and he gets healed, he's not Israelite, he's a foreigner. He's like from up in, I think he's Aramean. Well, when he gets healed by Israel's God, what's he do? He grabs a whole bunch of dirt and loads it onto his donkey and takes dirt from Israel back to his hometown, because he knew that Yahweh was powerful, but their gods were tied to the land. So he had to bring some of Israel's land back home with him so that he could have Yahweh with him. It's a pretty wild concept. So, but yeah, that was kind of the conception, was the gods were regional. But once the God became not regional, right, Yahweh became over everything, and you have these angels kind of fighting with each other. Now it's like, well, who's God fighting with? Obviously Satan.
So that is so interesting to me, because he literally goes from kind of like the guy who does God's dirty work to the guy who is the absolute ultimate enemy of God, because they just needed that. They needed to have that. They needed a unifying factor behind it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what happened. I mean, it's wild to think about, but
and the more that you think about it, the more that
they needed a villain. They needed a bad guy, so they had something close and they used it.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought
Hold on a
it
second.
was, just from my own reading. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't hear for just a second. My headphones were acting up. Can you say that again, Billy?
No worry. I was just going to say that's kind of what I thought it was from the beginning, and it's one of the things that helped me deconstruct from Christianity, to be quite honest with you, because it's like, this is just following a narrative story that every narrative story follows.
Right.
It's not anything new. It's not anything special. Every story that came before it did it. Every story that came after it did it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's useful. You know what I mean? Like if you have a God, you need, and bad things are happening, you need a reason to explain it, right? That's why the problem of evil is such a powerful explanation for atheists, because if you do have a God, you're like, yes, so shouldn't all the bad stuff be fixed? Yes. Well, why aren't they? Oh, because look at this horrible guy over here, right? So you just need something. And that's why polytheism was so powerful. Polytheism fixed this issue of having an all-powerful deity that could do whatever it wanted. Because in polytheism, hey, there's a lot of divine entities, and sometimes they didn't get along. Sometimes they fought with each other.
And I was going to say, is that not the issue? If God is all-powerful, he must be more powerful than Satan, so why doesn't he fix it?
So that's one of the issues that you find with the Satan theology, is it doesn't really fix much, because once you put a bad guy in the picture, now in order for him to still be in the picture, you need a way to explain why God hasn't removed him from the picture. Why? Is there a good reason to think that God would want Satan in the picture or not want Satan in the picture? Because like, if God doesn't want Satan in the picture, well, it's stupid that he's in the picture.
Yeah, and frankly, the story that they give for the reason why Satan is bad is also not particularly good. It doesn't really leave God in a good light.
Well, that's the funny
makes
thing.
Him seem like an asshole.
Yeah, well, in the Bible, we don't actually get a story of how Satan became bad. It's not really there. Some people would point towards Ezekiel 28 and Isaiah 14, but they're not about Satan. If you read them, they're clearly not about Satan. You can make a case that Ezekiel 28 is referencing the story kind of tangentially, but I don't think it is. I actually think it's referencing the story of Gilgamesh. So, I mean,
That's
I don't.
actually really fascinating. Could you explain that or expound on it? Because that's basically where I've always been pushed back to go look up, where the beginnings of Satan were. And
Yeah,
if that's not about him, that's really interesting.
not at all, actually. Give me a second, I'll show you. I'm going to pull open the Bible Gateway here. So, the idea that Satan is the target of Ezekiel 28, especially Isaiah 14 is even more popular, is, to me, it's like wishful thinking, because people who are reading this, they haven't studied the ancient Near East, they don't know the sources, they don't really know any of the content. But let's see, lamentation over the king of Tyre is what you want. Says, you were the signet of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, garden of God, very precious. Every precious stone was your covering: carnelian, chrysolite, moonstone, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald, and worked in gold, so on and so forth. On the day you were created, they were prepared. You were a cherub. I placed you in the holy mountain of God. You walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless in your ways. From the day, blah, 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 blah. Your heart was proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. Okay. So there's a fun stuff happening here. And the first thing you have to ask is, okay, who's being spoken to? What's the king of Tyre? Well, where was Tyre? Well, Tyre's not too far from Ugarit, northern Israel, just north of Israel, and even Lebanon. Let me get you a map real quick.
Yeah, I know where Tyre is. It's that island that is just off of the Levant, right?
Yeah,
It's
yep.
supposed to be destroyed completely and never was.
Yeah, so it's north of Israel, and it's not too far from the Lebanese mountain range. Let me grab the map, though, real quick. Let's see. Yeah, Tyre, Sidon, Damascus. Tyre and Sidon are in Lebanon, so they're right next to the mountain range. Okay, so if you were talking to somebody in the Lebanese mountain range, and we've got some of this mountain symbology happening here, is there something we can compare this to? Because I don't think the Garden of Eden should be in here anywhere. Well, yeah, actually, it turns out there is. So if you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, there's a couple things that happen. They go to the cedar forest, which is surrounding the mountain of God. They encounter a cherub that they have to murder to get victory over it. They enter the cedar forest, and the trees and the mountains are covered in precious stones. And then, let's see, those are the only kind of things you get here. One of the characters going into the cedar forest, specifically Gilgamesh, was like in love with his own beauty and glory. But I actually think that this is not trying to paint the picture of Gilgamesh. It's painting the picture of Humbaba. Humbaba was the cherub protecting the forest, who was placed there by the god, I believe Enki, and was there to. He was placed in charge of the entire cedar forest and the mountain to protect it from other people, and he was full of himself, if you read the story of Gilgamesh. And then he gets fucked up by Enkidu and Gilgamesh. They kill him. So to me, I'm reading this and I'm saying, listen, he's talking about the downfall of the king of Tyre in very similar verbiage of what we find in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And guess what? Where is the mountain range that Gilgamesh goes to kill the cherub? Oh, it's in Lebanon. He goes to the Lebanese mountain range. So to me, I'm like, oh yeah, he's making fun of this king, using a mythology that the king would know, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Everybody knew it in the ancient Near East. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
They appropriated it.
Well, you could say they appropriated it, or you could say they used a story that was in the audience's understanding to make fun of somebody. So let me think of a popular story. This is not a taunt, but if I said, you got to get home before midnight or, you'll turn into a pumpkin. Oh, well, You won't turn into a pumpkin, but you know what I'm talking about. You're talking about the Cinderella movie.
Yeah, no, and honestly, it was basically the same thing, right, with Dante's Inferno. Like, that was the same thing. It was very specifically about, gosh, I can't remember the Pope, but he's literally in it. And people take from Dante's Inferno what hell is supposed to be like, but Dante was not technically biblically inspired by anything, right? As far as I know, there's no claim for that.
So it depends on where you are with your hell doctrine. If you're Catholic, a lot of what you believe is going to match up with Dante. But if you're not Catholic, you can get to a hell like with fire and brimstone and all that stuff similar to Dante with just the Bible. You're just not going to get to as many specific layers. There seems to be some kind of layers in hell, but they're not defined. So like Jesus says, remember to the cities of Tyre, Sidon, that it'll be worse for you in the judgment than it will be for Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, what does that mean? I mean, you're going to have a worse hell? And there's other cases in the Bible where he talks about people going to hell having a worse punishment than others. Well, how could that be unless there was like different zones or levels down there? And it turns out that the Greeks had already that kind of idea. In Hades, you had different places within hell.
The Elysian fields, you had the
right.
You had the different places for people to go depending on how noble they had been in their lives. That's a weird thing, because isn't hell in Christian theology supposed to be the ultimate punishment, period? That's it? You go to hell, that's the ultimate punishment.
So in traditional Protestant Christianity, that is kind of the thing. You go to hell and that's it. You have one of two options. You go to hell and you burn forever, or you go to hell until the judgment, and then you get annihilated. Those are the two most common views. Catholicism is a little more diverse. For example, babies that die that aren't baptized, they go to limbo. Limbo is like the most gentle outer layer of hell, where there's no fire and torment, but it's also not good. It's just limbo. That's where the term comes from.
I'll give you my background. I am definitely from the Catholic faith.
So you know.
Going to school. Yeah, I was going to school. I was preparing for seminary. So like I was preparing to go into the priesthood. And my grandmother, who just passed away not too long ago, she was one of the people who went to church every Sunday to light a candle for my grandfather, because he never went to church, and she wanted to pray to make sure that he got up to heaven, because she figured he was in limbo if somebody wasn't praying for her.
Yes. Yeah, and you know about purgatory too then. So those are kind of the variants, and unfortunately, like if you just take the Protestant view of hell and compare it to Dante, there's not that much crossover.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that makes sense. Like when I read Dante's Inferno, I was like, yeah, this seems like what hell is as it's explained to me.
Right.
That's interesting. And it's weird because Dante's Inferno came so much later than anything that Christ spoke about, but he's also not like it's not like Saint Dante. He wasn't canonized. I'm not sure why.
Right.
He's in the actual, like, his explanation of what he perceived hell to be is inside the actual canon of Catholic Church, but that's what I was taught as a kid.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, in Catholicism, as well as anyone, that just because it's in Catholicism doesn't mean it's official. There's a lot of Catholic beliefs that aren't official.
No, but they sure teach it like it is.
Sure. Yeah. Well, they don't know any better. You know, of all the conversations you've heard up here, the Protestants and the Catholics aren't reading their Bibles, and they're sure not reading the Catechism.
No, they aren't. They're not even reading like the Pope's encyclicals, which he puts out.
Right.
I've had multiple conversations now with Catholic family members who again, I'm not even Catholic, but I still went out and read what he had to say, and they are just completely have no idea what it means or what he's talking about.
Right. Right. It's definitely a wild world. Any other questions, Billy? Billy, this is the Billy Sipes, though, right? Make sure I got the right.
Billy Sipes.
That's why I just make sure. I've only seen one Billy Sipes floating around. I'll make sure I'm talking to the one I'm used to seeing.
It's me. I'm the one that you're used to seeing. As far as questions go, I guess I actually asked this earlier, so I'll ask it of you as well. I kind of now just gone ahead and been honest with it. I'm in a position where I'm in a terminal stage in my life.
Oh, fuck. Sorry to hear that.
My mother is... No, it's fine. I've made my peace with it, but my mother is trying to bring me back to religion because she's very scared about it, and I understand that. And I've been trying to help her with it because on one side I don't agree with it, but on the other side I don't want to be hurtful to her. So how do you go about having that kind of conversation?
How often does she bring it up with you, and what's her approach usually when she does bring it up to you?
Not often, because we've had that argument too. And I will say this, my grandparents on the other side are extremely Southern Baptist. They went through this whole process where they had their entire weirdo multinational church praying for me and talking about my personal health issues, which I did not appreciate.
I'm sorry to hear that. I
specifically said, it's fine. I specifically said, I don't want you praying to me. And my grandfather was like, yeah, well, we're still going to do it. And I was like, well, that's non-consensual prayer. Bit messed up. But so she does not bring it up a lot, but the thing that she keeps bringing it back to, which is why I find it difficult to address, and it's, honestly, maybe like every 2 weeks or so, is just, I want to make sure that I see you again, because ultimately she is more than likely going to outlive me. And I get that. I understand that. But at the same time, it's difficult for me to give her reassurances that that's going to happen when I don't feel that that's going to happen.
Right. I find, so my mom was a believer, my father was a believer, and most of my family are believers. When the topic of religion comes up, a lot of times, like if they're like good, nice, decent people, I just let them have it. Like if it makes them feel good, it makes them feel better about the afterlife, and they're not using it to hurt other people or to vote horrible things into place. I don't really spend all the time worrying about it. But there are some people that might be around you where like they constantly say things because they want to bring you back, and that could be annoying. You're like, listen, just drop it. It's going to be fine. You don't have to worry about me, and nothing you say is going to fix it. When I get those people approaching me, a lot of times I will like progressively every time I'll step further and further into the deconstruction conversation, where first I'll start out with it like, listen, I don't believe it because it's not believable. Next time they bring it up, it might be something like, listen, it's great that you believe that, but it's demonstrably untrue. So you can't expect me to believe it just because you believe it and like it. You'd have to demonstrate that it's true to me. So every time the conversation comes up, push it a little bit further into, hey, listen, you might want me to believe this, but it's not going to happen until you can demonstrate that it is true, because you don't get to control what you believe. You're either convinced by it or not, right? And so that's kind of how I've treated it, because if they're bringing it to you repeatedly, that means they're not respecting your personal boundaries. And so at that point, I don't feel terrible about moving the pressure a little bit more every time they overstep the boundaries. But if they're not overstepping your boundaries, I mean, I think it's okay to let people believe what they want as long as it's not hurtful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely my mom, not my grandparents so much.
Okay.
That has been its own thing. But my mom definitely. But I usually find the conversation going back to, look, maybe it'll be fine if we do, but I don't expect to, so why don't we just enjoy the time that we have now?
Right. Right. Yeah. I get that. It's
All
hard
right, well,
because
it,
you love your family and your friends. You don't want to offend them, but sometimes you do have to have the hard conversation. And in my personal life, I try not to be confrontational if I don't have to be. So I always try to slow step into it until it becomes like annoying and unbearable. Then I start ramping up the pressure.
yeah, and that is pretty much my mom and my grandparents. With my mom, she's chill. She says some things, and I'm like, okay, all right, that's fine. My grandparents, my God, they drive me up a wall, and
That's tough.
part of that is just because they are definitely those performative Christians where
Mm,
they're like, oh, we want to be really loud and out there, and no matter how many times I cite that very specific Bible verse about not being on the corner and preaching loudly, never seems to actually fix anything, but whatever is what it is.
right. Right. Yeah, that's tough.
Anyways, Justin, it's been awesome talking with you. I've really
Thanks for
appreciated it. I
stopping in,
wanted to
buddy.
talk with you for a while. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very glad we had a chance to. I'm going to let you go so you can have some more interesting conversations, but I will be listening.
Hey, thanks, Billy. I appreciate you being here, and I'll should have a Q&A in a couple of weeks. If you want to pop in with some questions, come on by. It should be like at the beginning of September or the end of probably the last week of August.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right, take care, buddy.
You too. Bye bye.
I've seen Billy. Billy's been around the community for a bit. I've seen him around a lot. It was good to get to hear his voice. It's always good to, well, maybe put a face to him too. Always good to put a voice and a face to somebody that you've seen around quite a bit. Let me grab just a couple of super chats, friends. We'll get our next guest loaded up here. Babs in the house tonight. Babs, thank you for the super chat. Is Genesis 7, 1 through 3 inserted? No, that's a tough one, actually. I guess by inserted, you mean, well, you can't be asking if it's original, because none of it's original. I think what you mean to say is in the flood story, is that section part of the original story as we have it here? And the real answer is no, right? So Genesis 7, 1 through 3, I got a spreadsheet here I'll show you, is mixed up of two different sources. It's a mixture of the Yahweh source and the Elohist source. And I've got a division that I made a while ago. Let me grab it real quick. Here we go. I got a spreadsheet for the documentary hypothesis. And I've specifically got the Noah story broken out into sources. All right. Let me see what the easiest way is to put this in. I'm going to add a window source real quick. Let's see. Program capture maybe is what I'm looking for. We'll grab that guy right there. Oh, that's huge. That's okay. We'll take care of that in a minute. Okay. There's one, and there's the other. Okay, so what you'll find is the two sources are basically the same story of Noah merged into one. And Genesis 7, 1 through 3, as you mentioned, are actually part of a unit. They go all the way to verse 12. And then you've got some strays, 16, 17, 22, 23. And then that's about the end of that unit. So that's the Yahweh source. Now, the source from the north This document I've got listed as the priestly source, but the priestly source was from the north. It certainly could have been, a late stage Yahwistic edit. And you'll notice that it's not there, right? It goes from Genesis 6 to 622 to 7:6. So what that means is that section of story, the one that we were just looking at, is roughly inserted into. I'm sorry, we want Genesis 7. There we go. Yeah, that's right. It was roughly inserted into the story after chapter 6, but before chapter 7. But it's not just verses 1 through 3. It's a little more complicated than that. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, on this particular topic, you can read Joel Baden. You can read any of the classics. Oh, Jesus! Okay. This fucking cat is a goddamn maniac. Just knocked over my entire monitor. Okay. Fucking Volta over here. All right. Well, I think everything's still running. Fuck it. I've never had a live stream with Volta in the room where he didn't try to destroy my entire set. I have no idea. I have no idea why he's like this. Normally, he's very nice. He's very sweet and cuddly. It's just that when I'm working, he wants to destroy my entire place. Sorry about the scare. Sorry about the scare there, friends. Let me grab 2 super chats from Gretchen, and we'll get right back to our next guest. Gretchen says, "You're just fucking with us now, aren't you?" I'm so sorry, Gretch. I had some bugs earlier. We got the bugs worked out. Well, I mean, we got the bugs figured out. We got a workaround. Whether or not the bug is gone yet, we'll find out. I'll test it in the morning. And from Gretchen says, "This is all Dead Goat Witch's fault. She got to go." You know what? The more you keep bringing it up, the more I'm thinking maybe you might be onto something. I'll let you know, though. You either may or may not be onto something. Although, if anyone's watching right now, we're going to have to clip Volta literally destroying my entire set. Is this proof that Yahweh is real and that he sent a cat to destroy my work? I don't know yet. But what I do know is Volta is a Hellraiser. And it is what it is. Let me grab. All right, so next in line is Estimate, I believe. And then I think Samuel's been waiting for a while. And I think Jason came back. Okay. Let me grab Estimate. All right, bada bing, bada boom. Welcome in Estimate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
Excellent. It's late for me. I'm in Ohio as well. I'm about to go to bed, but quick question. So in Numbers 31:25, when he's distributing the war spoils,
Yeah.
what happens to what's the fate of the virgins that are distributed for the Lord's tribute to Eleazar? Are they executed? Are they enslaved? Are they?
I think most views would be that they were sacrificed, or they were. Sacrifice isn't the best word for it. Let's say they were devoted to destruction. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So there's this interesting thing that they would do is called harem killing in the ancient world, where the general idea is that, like, hey, listen, some people, God just needs you to kill them. Like, they just got to go. This type of warfare is usually called harem. And in a lot of Bible translations, they'll say devoted to destruction. So, for example, in Leviticus 27, says, "Nothing that a person owns that has been devoted to destruction for the Lord, be it human or animal, or inherited landholding, may be sold or redeemed. Every devoted thing is most holy to the Lord. No human beings who have been devoted to destruction can be ransomed. They shall be put to death." So then you might be asking yourself, this is odd. What's going on here? Well, the reason why you might devote something to destruction is because they've been completely defiled and God saw fit to wipe the defilement completely off the earth. And that's why you would see, like in Numbers, remember where God wanted everything to be wiped out. That's why Moses was mad that some of the women and children were left over, because they were supposed to wipe everything out. So that was kind of the idea. Now, what they decided though is that they can keep the virgin girls because theoretically they're not defiled, and they're not adults. So the question is, what would happen to the ones that were given to the temple for the service? Well, most likely they would have been devoted to destruction like everybody else. There is a small case to be made that they would have been used in service, and that's not out of the question. The reason why I don't lean that direction, why I lean towards the harem direction, is because there were 30,000 of them. I don't know what 15,000 of them were going to be. They got divided between the warriors and the rest of Israel, 15,000 each. And then let me see how many went to the actual temple. Let's see.
1 out of 50.
Right, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So it
So
says.
would that be the same?
Yeah.
Same for the Levite, the ones that were dedicated to the Levites. Would that have been the same fate?
Well, I think that's the same people group, right? It says half share. The portion of those who had gone out to war was in number 33. I'm sorry, 300. No way. 337,500. Oh, these are sheep. Sorry, let me get to the humans. The persons were 16,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 32 persons. Oh, that's actually not bad based on the distribution system. So perhaps 32 of them ended up going to serve in the temple, but they also could have been just given as tribute. Because the next verse says, Moses gave the tribute, the offering for the Lord, to Eleazar the priest, as the Lord commanded. Well, an offering is not typically, living. Like they usually, they'll kill that, you know? Same with the donkeys and the other animals. They're not staying alive, they're getting burnt.
So then, yeah, 47, it said from the Israelites half, Moses looked at 1 out of every 50 to give to the Levites who are responsible for the care of the Lord's tabernacle. That reads more like they were maybe servants, or.
Well,
I just
that
wasn't sure
is.
if they kept concubines, like, if Eleazar would have had concubines.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the Levites had concubines. So if you go to Judges 18 and 19 and 20 and whatnot, you'll find a story of a Levite who had a concubine. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we know that the women that were distributed to the soldiers became war brides, because in that narrative, they do the exact same thing. They go to war specifically with the intent to murder everybody except for the virgin children, so that they can turn them into brides.
So when it says tribute, it's most likely sacrifice. Otherwise, but otherwise they would have probably been distributed as war brides. It sounds like.
Yes. Yeah, and some of them were given to the service of the Levites. What the Levites did with them is not certain. It seems like they would have used them, but possibly not for temple service because they're foreigners. But not all of them probably became war brides. I would say just most of them, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, very disturbing, no doubt.
It really is. But you got to remember, at the time period when this was written, and in the culture that this was written, this would have appeared to be normal. That's why it's in the Bible, and like the ancient authors didn't think anything about it. You know?
Yeah, it's a long list of disturbing things for sure. Well, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate you clarifying that for me, and thank you for everything you do. Appreciate you a lot, and I'll let you get on to the next. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it, buddy. Take care. Numbers 31 is one of those passages. It's just hard to stomach, and it's weird that Christians defend it, given the fact that it's so horrific. Let's get Samuel in here. Welcome in, Samuel. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Amazing. Firstly, it's amazing talking to you. You helped me a lot on my deconstruction journey. I've been listening to you for months, and it's amazing. I listen to the line a lot. It's fantastic. I would love to pick your brain very specifically. I used to be Jewish. I was raised that way. I went to an Episcopalian high school and learned a lot of differences that I learned in Judaism. And then I went to college and just like meditated a lot, called it spirituality, but I didn't know anything. I'm completely deconstructed from the idea of faith. And I'm just wondering, like, what do you put your attention in regards to like forces of the universe, like the law of attachment or karma or like the idea of a balance? I just don't have any like idea to demonstrate any of those things, but I want to think something is there, you know? I just don't really know what to think about anymore.
I understand the desire for there to, to want something to be there. But unfortunately, I don't think that there is. My personal opinion is if there is something out there, it's not a god, whatever that thing is. It could be, I don't know, it could be that spirits are real, but at that point, spirits would just be like a normal part of nature. It wouldn't be something like interesting or special. So it's, I don't know, it is tough. But to be quite, frank with you, I think it's the end. Once you breathe your last breath, like you're done. It's curtains. It's a terrible thing to think, but it seems to be the only way to see it. That seems to be the case.
I do agree with you. I don't think there is anything at the end. It's just like, when you're kind of like tuned in, when there's like a sync and you feel like things are kind of happening for you. I know that these feelings are non-demonstrative. It's just like, obviously karma isn't a thing you can talk to and whatever, but even the law of attraction, the law of like least effort, all of these things, like I feel like people get to say them all the time. I don't know if they exist. Like, are those anything that you put your attention on, like the law of least effort or the law of attachment?
No, I don't at all. In fact, I don't even know what the law of least effort is. What is that?
That's what I mean. It's like, I don't know. It's probably just gibberish. It's just like something within a realm of manifestation that people have shared with other people, and that's kind of the root of my interest and confusion is that like there's nothing to demonstrate. It's just like people say all these things. People can talk about like quantum physics. The other day I heard a great thing on the line. I think it was the line where one of you brilliant minds said that like all of these philosophical arguments for God don't actually have any weight because people don't go to like the Church of Philosophy to praise God, right? But they keep coming to you with these arguments that affirm God, but that's not what they believe in or study or pray. So it's true. It's just like a waste, And
yeah,
it does make me want, like, I am not a nihilist. I tried that and it didn't work because I believe I have a purpose, right? Like I love making people feel better. It makes me feel good, and that's like good enough for me. But then when you get stuck in a rut where like things aren't happening that support your happiness. Obviously there's no like objective that you're supposed to be happy, but there's just like these, feelings involved. And I just feel like I guess you said it before, it just kind of sucks to reduce things to demonstration. You don't know why things are good. You don't know why things are bad. You just try to do the best you can do. And like, I guess I never thought of it like that. And that's like a really powerful way to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about these types of things, like these laws of maybe psychology or whatnot. They don't do, to me, they have served no utility in my life. I understand that some people might find them interesting. I'm just not sure what I would do with them. I don't believe in any mysticism or woo-woo or astrology, or I don't think none of that stuff is real to me. So,
and that even boils down to like the idea of karma, like you do good because you want to do good. If good happens to you, it's just because it happens to you.
You got it. Yeah, I don't believe in karma. I don't think the universe is sentient and is trying to do anything in particular. I think karma is one of those things that, you can be tricked into thinking that it's real because, if you spend a lifetime doing good things, it is statistically more likely that good things might happen back to you. like you reap what you sow. But I certainly wouldn't call that like a law of the universe. I just think it's just how people behave. If you treat somebody well, they're more likely to treat you well at some point, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Sam.
Thanks for talking.
Cheers. I have never heard of the law of least effort until now. Apparently, it says the law of least effort states that people, animals, and systems naturally choose the path to take. Choose the path that takes the least amount of energy or resistance. Sure. I mean, that tends to be, the case. Not always, but I think that's just natural, though. I don't know if we call it a law, especially not in psychology. I'm not sure what that has to do. Anyways, with the mysticism. Salient Monk, my friend, thank you for the super chat, says, but surely I tell you, some of you standing here will not perish before DZ completes the stream. That's what I'm talking about, and it's happening. We're doing it right now, friends. And Hunter Girl, back again with another super chat. Thank you so much. Is there a god of audio? Maybe we should pray to them. We did. We got it. It is working. And unfortunately, the issue wasn't audio. The issue was garbage collection on a website. It's a long story, but we're gonna get there. Twisted Scripture, it's great to see you tonight. Hello, Justin. Thank you for the Q&A. Well, shit, Twisted. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting the Q&A. I super appreciate that, friend. And also for the $2 super thanks. And Kenneth is in the house. I see two of them from Kenneth. Says, Baal in Yahweh, was there any copying of attributes? Sure. Yeah. The idea that somebody's riding on a cloud that's bringing storms and thunder and lightning, that seems to be something that was more akin to Baal worship than it was to Yahwistic worship. But Yahweh originally was probably associated with copper smelting and mountaintops and volcanic activity, it would seem. Not so much with lightning strikes and whatnot. But they get merged eventually. In fact, there's a couple psalms that seem to be Ugaritic Baal psalms that kind of get repurposed to be for Yahweh. Also from Kenneth says, Volta is an agent of Yahweh, Ha-Satan himself. Yes, it's true. Volta was obviously sent by the Dark Lord, who I thought was my friend until now, and I'm starting to have second thoughts on that. So let's bring Jason back here, and we'll see what we got going on. Welcome back, Jason.
Hey, long time no see.
Yeah, how you doing, bud?
Good. You really have some audio gremlins, dude.
Well,
my.
it turned out audio was a symptom as opposed to the issue. I created a replica of Video Ninja to bring guests in and out of my new studio, and unfortunately, the way that it handles connections and reconnections when people's connections drop out turned out to be really bad, and it was consuming all of my server resources. And it took me a while to figure out that that's why my server kept crashing. But we're okay now. I just switched over to Video Ninja for the guest room, and we'll use that for maybe a couple days till I get the garbage collection worked out on the other one. So where did we leave off?
We were talking about some stuff in the servant songs, but I wanted to go over some other stuff kind of quickly because it's like already 11:30. But
Yeah.
Either way, do you have firstly any good stuff on like whether it be like just a paper or a book or something out there on just how work in the ancient Near East? I was talking to someone the other day about the prophecies all over Isaiah where you have names that are pretty clearly theophoric names, but because it either included like all of the tetragrammaton in it, or the name was like, instead of like Yahweh is my righteousness, or like he was making the same argument for Isaiah 7:14, that because his name is Emmanuel, like Yahweh with us, or like El is with us, rather than like El will be with us. Like there's some weird semantic thing to where it's suggesting the people of these prophecies actually has identity with Yahweh. And I didn't really think any of that was true at all, but it's not like I had anything to cite towards them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's an interesting that happens in Isaiah 9. Or you're in Isaiah 7, I'm sorry. In Isaiah 7.
There was a lot. a lot of theophoric names all over the place he was going to point towards it.
There's a lot. Okay, so theophoric names are not supposed to be pointing typically at the person themselves, but typically at the deity. So, for example, if your name is something like Hezekiah, would mean like, Yahweh is strength. The theophoric name is supposed to be a commentary on the god that the person worships, then not so much the god itself. That's why you find theophoric names for like Egyptian pharaohs a lot that describe the pharaoh. It seems like it's describing the pharaoh as though it's a god, even though it's actually not. It's describing the god of the pharaoh because it's supposed to be giving tribute to the god itself. And we find a bunch of these, enthronement prophecies that are theophoric in the ancient Near East, where when somebody comes of age or somebody comes to the coronation, they're given a series of 4 or 5 different names, and those names are theophoric in nature, describing that the particular god that is protecting them, the god that they follow. It's not supposed to be about the person themselves. But on Isaiah 7, I don't even know if you could say the names in Isaiah 7 and 8 are theophoric, and that is true. I actually think that they're second names, and I think they're prophetic more than theophoric, meaning the name given to the children are supposed to be prophecies, not necessarily commentaries on the God. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. The guy I was specifically talking to was pointing between like the distinctions of like the name of the Messiah and what Jerusalem's going to be renamed to in like Jeremiah 22 and 32, where it's like I forget the exact phrasing. It was something like Lord is righteous, something like that. And he said, well, look at like the name Zedekiah, because that's like Yahweh is my righteousness, instead of like apparently in the Hebrew, when you go to Jeremiah 22 and 32, you have not like Yahweh is my righteousness, but like Yahweh, like you have something that indicates somehow that the person with this name is supposed to be Yahweh rather than reflecting Yahweh.
Yeah, so Zedekiah is something akin to like the Lord is our righteousness. And you're right. The goal of theophoric names is not to describe the individual as God itself. It's a description of the God that they serve. They're very abundant in the ancient world, which is why it's weird to me that when you get to something like Isaiah 9, you get like Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Prince of Peace, things like that. People are like, oh, this means that the person is a god. No, actually, that's not the case. It doesn't mean that the person's a god. Like we find the identical same terminologies of other kings from other regions in the ancient Near East. It didn't mean that they were gods either. It just meant that they had theophoric names, or sometimes they were like Gilgamesh, where they depicted the king as being like an actor, like a divine agent that acts on behalf of the god, if that makes sense.
Do you think that because a lot of the times everybody points to like the Egyptian theophoric names, that's like the go-to, like in the I got the Zondervan World Biblical Commentary series that you recommended. In there, it says the exact same thing. I know, like McClellan, he'll point a lot of the time to like Egyptian enthronement prophecies that you're talking about, where they have theophoric names. But a critique of that I saw is that like did Egyptians at that time not think that the pharaoh was like divinized in a sense? Actually are pointing to the fact that they're somewhat of the divine sense.
Okay, so that brings up a good point, and the answer is technically not so much. So this is more of an older viewpoint, the idea that the pharaoh is necessarily a god. It's more like they're acting on behalf of the gods. And believe it or not, on this particular point, and the reason why the Egyptian theophoric names are so popular in the literature is because we have more of them. We don't just have more of them, we have more of them in the same context that we see in the Bible, the way that they're being used. So that's why it's not that they were more popular there, it's just that those were the texts that survived the test of time. But believe it or not, in the book that I was actually opening it right now, in the book that I'm writing on the prophecies, I actually did quite a few of them on this particular topic. Let me see if I can remember some of the ones that you'll want to look up. Unfortunately, the bulk of them are going to be Egyptian, but it should give you a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. Let's see. All right, Matthew, yep, Isaiah 9, one more chapter. Let's see. Oh, did I go too far? It's seen a great light. Let's see, where did I hide Isaiah 9 in here? I did it in order with the order that they come up in the New Testaments, not the order that they show up in the Old Testament. So I have to, let me find this one.
I always find it funny that in the Septuagint botches so hard Isaiah 9 that it's not at all similar to how it looks in the Hebrew Bible. So you get nothing about that from any of the early church fathers or like New Testament authors about Isaiah 9 being tied to Jesus.
You can absolutely see why the New Testament didn't quote it, because they were reading from the Greek, and the Greek doesn't sound anything like the Hebrew at all. Okay, so here's this should be the chapter I was looking for. Yeah, Isaiah 9, 1 through 2. I go all the way down through it. And here are some of the texts that you might want to look into for references. Let's see. There's one called the Prophecy of Nefertiti. And this is I was comparing some of these old prophecies and whatnot to the names given, the theophoric names given in Isaiah, just to kind of give you an idea of how they were used in the ancient world. So, for example, this is a prophecy. It says, a king will come belonging to the south, a many, the triumphant his name. So it's saying the name of this person is triumphant. He is the son of a woman of the land of Nubia. He is born in Upper Egypt. He will take the crown. He will wear the red crown and unite the two mighty ones. So the two different crowns. He will satisfy the two lords with what they desire. The encircler of the May, my brother, rejoice on that day. Let's see, there's some names I can't pronounce. These are names of gods. So it says, May Semigi and Saskuka grant my brother a great blessing, exquisite joy. May they bless him, and may you, my brother, may you live forever. And this was, I stole this one from the Amarna tablets. This is something else. I must have read the wrong paragraph here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got the page split. I read down instead of over. Sorry. The rest of it should be the circler of the fields will be in his grab, blah, blah, blah. Rejoice, you people of the time. The Son of Man will take his name will make his name forever and ever, meaning the name of a person, right? And so this is interesting. The prophecy of Nefertiti is saying that there's a man whose name is going to live on forever and ever, which turns out to be a revolving theme in the ancient Near East, referring to different kings, that they're going to live forever and ever, and that a particular God has established them. And so, for example, in the Amarna letters, what I accidentally just read partially, it says, may the gods bless him, and you, my brother, live forever. Well, obviously, they're not going to live forever. That's preposterous. And there's a bunch more in here. Let's see. I got them all listed, but without reading through the whole chapter, I'm not sure I can get them all for you. But let's see. In the biographical text from Tutmosis III, there's another inscription. Let's see. There's an Akkadian letter where it says... Man, so many of these words are broken. Just talking about their descendants living forever. Yeah, there's a bunch of references here. It looks like they're not organized well for listing them. Unfortunately, it's because it's a book. But when I get the book finished, you'll see I've listed a bunch of references in here from the literature, full of theophoric names, what they mean, why they exist, and the way that they're used within the literature of the time period, and it should be helpful. I probably should do a tab on the cheat sheet eventually listing a bunch of the texts so that we can use it as a quick reference rather than trying to like read through a whole chapter on speed read. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know as well as I do, the theophoric names used in Isaiah were common. They have nothing to do with a God-man. Elohim, or not Elohim, Emmanuel is a reference to God being with his people during the war, not a reference to that little boy being a god. But these are the types of like weird things you have to do as a Christian, because if the Hebrew Bible doesn't say anything about your Messiah, you have to find it somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. What do you think about? And it's interesting. I never heard this apologetic really until recently, but in Isaiah, at the start of the like oracle to Ahaz in Isaiah 7, you have the switch from Isaiah addressing Ahaz directly, then to now he's addressing the listen, hero house of David, and I feel like it's a huge logical leap. But every time they'll say, okay, actually now he's addressing the lineage. This is how you get to Jesus, and this is why the virgin birth is in here. That's Jesus, and then it switches back. Then you have the two nations are going to be destroyed. That's for Ahaz, but they like to swap it out. And so, really, what I was looking at was my bad. What I wanted to know was like that first and foremost is, and I guess I need another source for this. I don't know what you just have off the top of your head, but like the House of X is just like a political term that refers to like the dynasty and the royal court and like kind of the bigger grouping that the king is ahead of, firstly, not like some mysterious lineage with a figure at the end who we're vaguely pointing towards, right?
Nailed it. Yeah. So this is another thing I've already finished. There's a reference in Jeremiah that clears this up. It's like 23 or something. Let me grab it real quick. So the main argument is something like this. He switches because Ahaz turned down the sign. So he switches and said, okay, now I'm not going to give a sign to Ahaz. I'm going to give a sign to the Israelites, right? But the house of David is not a reference for the Israelites or even the Judeans. It's the house of the king, right? So for example, even in the black obelisk, it's an ancient artifact. It talks about the house of Omri, referring to the dynasty of King Omri. Like the house of David refers to the dynasty of King David. It does not refer to the people of Judea. It does not refer to the people of Israel. But specifically to what you're talking about, the passage in Jeremiah that really helps show what's happening here, because he's not talking to a future generation. He's not talking to a future king. David, in this case, King Ahaz, was not alone. Like you can reference the other people in the room, and that's going to be okay. And it happens again, this identical like switch. It happens again in Jeremiah, where the prophet goes in, gives a message to the king, and then switches from giving a message to the king to giving a message to the whole house, all the people that are gathered there. So give me 1 second to grab that verse for you.
I think it is interesting though, because I was reading a lot up on the Wildeberger commentary you recommended.
And so yeah, he's great.
There, he actually is, and he's kind of swaying me. He's sympathetic to the view that the prophecy no longer is to Ahaz because he has rejected. Like he kind of is like a pathetic guy in the whole chapter.
He is pathetic.
That was so powerful, and he's not going to trust him, and he's going to have all this stuff, and he's going to listen to his elders and not even really hear what Ahaz has to say, and then he's going to fake pious at the end of it. I mean, come on. But like, I still don't even think that how could it possibly mysteriously get you to Jesus rather than just like the people around him? Because the context of Isaiah 7 is that they're like up looking at the water reservoirs, and like it's not like it's just going to be Ahaz by himself. Like clearly he's going to be with like counselors and like elders like guiding him, making like war tactics for like Sennacherib kind of coming in and everything, right? So like it still doesn't get you very far, right?
Exactly, you nailed it. And so we'll show you another example in Jeremiah 22, 1-7. There's a case where if you look it up in the Hebrew, he goes back and forth between you in the plural and you in the singular, and so on and so forth. It's clear that in Jeremiah 22, he's talking to like the king and the house that the king presides over. And it's a little more spelled out, which is why you see in the Hebrew text the switching back between the singular and the plural as the prophet is speaking. In Isaiah, you see the same thing, the switching back between the singular and the plural as the prophet is speaking, not because he's addressing some future generation and he's just going to ignore the people he's talking to, but because, well, there's multiple people there.
Mm-hmm.
And the house of David it's a court. It's a assembly of royals. It's not just a single individual sometimes. So there's no good reason to think that like there's a single message coming to Ahaz. Like it's just a prophet having a secret clandestine meeting with Ahaz, delivering the message.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real good reason to think that.
Okay, that's pretty good. I appreciate that. Let's do your favorite. Let's talk a little bit about Isaiah 53 and prophetic perfect tense.
Oh yeah,
So-
that does not exist.
Yeah, I have a class with Kip Davis this Wednesday, and I'm going to ask him, when are we going to start learning about prophetic perfect tense?
You
Hopefully he
will
says something
not.
funny. But
Actually, I
Sorry,
think
go
I
ahead.
talked to him about this just once, very briefly as a joke, and I don't think, yeah. There's a
funny,
quote. Go ahead.
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
every time I look up stuff to try to steelman prophetic perfect tense, it's every single time, every study about it is from BYU, and they're always about passages regarding Jesus. There's never a single prophetic perfect tense where it's not pointing to Jesus every single time. It's very funny.
Yeah. So I dug through my commentaries to see if I can find even one that, like a real scholar, that seemed to have any agreement with this idea of a prophetic perfect. And the only one I could find is Gary Smith. He wrote a commentary on Isaiah, and he says a couple things. He says the verbs there will be no gloom, and those who were in distress are supplied based on the context of the paragraph. I disagree, actually. It's about Isaiah 9. It says the verb be humbled, made insignificant is the normal translation for a perfect verb, particularly after the introductory clue in the past time. This rendition exerts pressure to translate the second perfect verb in a similar manner as was honored, but the prepositional phrase in the future days contextually requires will be honored, implying the use of a prophetic perfect. Now, he didn't give any support for the idea that prophetic perfects even exist. He didn't have like an excerpt on it, nothing. And then in my book, I go through and demonstrate how literally all the scholars disagree, and here's why. And so I went through every source possible in the Bible that people say is a prophetic perfect, and I demonstrate that, one, not only is it not a prophetic perfect, it makes perfect sense if you understand it in the exact grammar that you have it. If you respect the verb grammar, the story makes perfect sense. You don't need to forcefully translate something into a perfect just because, like what Gary says, I feel pressured to do it because the verbs before it were perfect. Well, that's not how verbs work. Maybe you just don't understand what the author's saying, which is actually what's happening. Whenever someone tells you that there's a prophetic perfect, here's what I would say. Find me one in the Bible and I'll explain to you why it's not a prophetic perfect and you just don't understand what the author is saying. Because there's no such thing in Hebrew grammar as a prophetic perfect. This is an invention by later readers of the Bible who thought, this doesn't make sense as an imperfect. I need it to be perfect. Or it doesn't make sense as a perfect. I need it to be perfect. Or sorry, it does not make sense as a perfect. I need it to be imperfect, meaning future.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about like the notion that we have in like Isaiah, like because there's other parts in like Zechariah where it happens like a little bit to the point where it's just like prophetic perfect in the sense that we have the words of a personified future people and what they're going to say when X, Y, or Z
Yes.
happens.
That's where this whole thing started. In fact, Rashi points it out. He's one of the first ones to point out this idea of like a prophetic perfect. But even Rashi typically understands a prophetic perfect not to be something that is just randomly in the perfect tense, but about the future. It's when they're describing people in the future talking about the past. So, for example, we find that in Isaiah 53. We find it elsewhere, like in Zechariah. It shows up in Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28. And so, yes, if you're saying, look, in the future, you're going to say this, and the thing that you're saying is about something that already happened, well, yeah, it's going to be in the perfect because you're now giving somebody a message about the past, even though that message isn't going to be recited until sometime in the future. And so I would agree entirely with this notion. This is where the idea of a prophetic perfect kind of got its birth. And then goofballs tried every time goofballs didn't like what the verse actually said. Then like, oh, it's a prophetic perfect. No, that's not how that works. A prophetic perfect isn't really what you think it is. A prophetic perfect is just a future tense action referring to the past. But it's not an actual piece of grammar. It's actually referring to a phenomenon, meaning a switch in time frame.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, with that being said, do you think that you would consider like the first part of that fourth servant song to be like prophetic in nature, considering this is what those people are going to say when they see the exaltation of Israel? Because I'm kind of debating on whether or not, when I go
yeah,
about
for sure.
explaining this, you would, okay.
Yeah, so if you go to Isaiah 53, he lays it out at the very end of the chapter that this is something happening in the future. So if you go to Isaiah 52 to 53, he tells you what's going to happen in the future, and then he recites it as though he's in the future, right? It says, that which had not been told to them they shall see. So this is happening in the future. That which they had not heard they shall contemplate. Okay, who's contemplating? Well, he told you it's the kings of the nations. So the next line is a quote. Who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Oh, this is the nations, or the kings of the nations, contemplating what they've just witnessed. And then the whole chapter is them describing what they had just witnessed after they see Yahweh do what you said, vindicate his people Israel, deliver them from captivity, and exalt them. So this is an example, like I said, of what originally was the impetus for creating this so-called prophetic perfect. But it's not really a piece of grammar. It's just somebody in the future talking about something in the past that already happened. And if these are the kings of the nation speaking, what that means is that their events, the things that they're describing, already happened. They're not in the future. Whenever these kings are speaking, which it seems to be imminently, that means those events had transpired, and they're not for 400 or 500 years later.
What do you think? Because like Payne and Golden Gate point this out, where at the very start you have, where is it, right? Like in verse 15, 52:15, you have, so he shall startle many nations, and kings shall shut their mouths because of him. Like right there, like we're being told that basically the people who witness this aren't going to be speaking. They're going to shut their mouths because they're so shocked that it's happening. And yet then now 53, we have the nation speaking. So they kind of look at this like paradox like thing. I think that like it actually maybe like further solidifies it, that like when they see it happening, they're shocked. But now in like 53, they're, like believing in, like it presupposes that they already believe in Yahweh, and they see the great things he's done, and they understand that Israel bore their sins and all this type of stuff. And I feel like it even further pushes out that part of 53 into the future. What do you think? Kind of similar thing or what?
Well, there's two ways to reconcile this. There's the generic way, and then there's the pedantic way. The generic way is to understand that shutting your mouth is an idiom just for being gobsmacked, right? It doesn't mean that they're never going to talk again, right? That's not really what's being considered here. The other thing too is if you actually look at it, it's not actually saying that they're speaking. So it says they shall contemplate it, meaning it's happening in their head. their contemplation is what they've witnessed. Whether or not they actually speak it is another thing. This is something that they're contemplating. It's an internal dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's pretty good. What about the stuff about you talking with that guy about Ezekiel in the third temple? Do you think that Ezekiel thought he was giving post-exilic temple descriptions, or like some mysterious like third temple in the future? Like, doesn't he think that he's given the right after the exiles
100%.
temple?
Yep, 100%. Ezekiel understood his temple as to be happening during the restoration, maybe under, say, Joshua and Zerubbabel. And to be fair, you could understand why he would think that. If you read the rest of the book, it seems clear that, and even a little bit in Haggai and elsewhere, that there is this new hope had arisen, that God's promises are coming true, and that Joshua and Zerubbabel were chosen for this time period, and God was going to make things happen. And you can see why Ezekiel would look at all this hope and optimism after the return to the land and be like, we did it, and now is the time. And then Ezekiel maybe already started to get sick and pass away before he saw the end of the stuff he was lying about.
Well, I don't want to take up your whole night. I mean, I got a lot more kind of quickie questions. Like, is it cool if I keep asking, or what?
Well, I've got other people waiting to get in. I've a bunch of people, so I can't do this all night. But I will be
just one more then.
Yeah. I'll be doing another Q&A here at the end of August.
Okay, cool, perfect. So let's just do Isaiah 45:7 for God creating evil. I've seen this a lot, and then once again, Golden Gain Payne said the same thing, that the mirrorism being with shalom rather than tov points to like a situation of the quote unquote calamity rather than actual like moral evil being invoked.
Right.
Do you kind of see the same thing?
So yeah, if you're looking at shalom and ra, you're what you're really looking about is peace and non-peace, right? So a shalom is like everything is all is right with the world. Everything is the way that it should be. Everything is restored. Everything is complete. And ra would be the opposite. If something's not complete, something's wrong, something's amiss, something's bad. And so when we talk about evil, one of the things that I think people get wrong in the Bible is evil's not, in the Hebrew scripture, evil's not a thing like it is in English. It's not a force. It's not something like a moral, it doesn't have like a moral existence to it. Something that's evil is just something that's really bad. And that's why in the Hebrew Bible, both God and others create what we call evil. The word bad and the word evil don't exist separately in the Hebrew Bible. It's the same word. You would use the same one to refer to the same thing. And so even God does evil in the Hebrew Bible. There's a couple instances. The one that always come to my mind is 2 Samuel 24, when God has the angel smiting the 70,000 Israelites. Yeah. What he is doing there is described as being bad. And other things, or evil, other things happen where God says he's going to bring this evil upon you. And another such passage is in Amos chapter 3, verse 6, I believe, where he says, he uses ra for calamity, does not calamity befall a city and it not come from the Lord? So whatever you think ra is in Hebrew, that's what God created. Now, it just happens to be in English, we translate this to be evil. But evil and calamity in the Hebrew Bible are literally the same thing. It's just something that's not good, and it happens to be created by God.
Like you'd say evil doesn't necessarily have like the same kind of like, it doesn't actually have like an ontology, like, because I know like now like the idea is that like there is no such thing as evil. There's only the privatization of good. It's like the Catholic teaching. Like, do you see that at all in the Bible, or like
that I don't.
Like what's happening?
So the closest you'll get is like in the New Testament with the nonsensical stuff, like in 1 John, where it's like God is light, and if you belong to God, the light is in you, and there's no darkness. Where they kind of have this idea that light chases away darkness, and like darkness is just an absence of light. You get stuff like that, but the idea that good and evil have ontology and that evil is just a lack of the good ontology, that's not in the Hebrew Bible at all.
Okay. Well, hey, this has been a good night, man. Thanks for all the information. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for being patient. I know we had a lot of goofy technical issues to work through, but you've been you've been here for a couple hours with me, so thank you.
Yeah. All right. You have a good one.
Cheers, buddy. All right, I'm gonna grab one more guest, and then we're gonna read through the rest of our super chats because Shellrock, the rude dude, maybe came back. So we're gonna grab Shellrock, and then we'll read the rest of our chats here. Shellrock or Shellbrock? I don't know if I can read that because the letters are so small. Shell, how you doing? Shell? Shell Proc? Anything? I think they fell asleep. Oh yeah, they're snoring. Okay, well, move on to the next one. Let's grab Andrew. How you doing, Andrew?
Oh, fine, thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely, yeah. What's in your mind?
So, I came across your channel a couple months ago, and I've been kind of waiting for a phone call for a Q&A. And
Hmm?
I've been going through a deconstruction process for quite some time. If I really think about it, it's been my whole adult life. I've come against a lot of adversity in my life recently, and it just really, it seems like the most important thing on my mind is figuring out, what my beliefs are. And my question to you is, how long did your deconstruction take? And did you waver, like going back and forth and what your beliefs are? Because it seems like every couple of weeks, that's what I'm doing. I'm
Hmm.
wavering back and forth on what I'm actually believing.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things is that deconstruction is not always linear, and it's
Yeah.
not always quick. I got to be honest, mine was like 10 years. It took me 10 years to get to
Okay.
the point from I've got some concerns to I for sure am an atheist and this is complete garbage. And it's a long time. So it's bumpy along the way. You go through some phases where like, oh man, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is real. And then you got other phases where like, oh no, this doesn't make any sense. This is ridiculous. But just like, let me see. Can you see my computer screen?
Um, no. I can see you and your books behind you.
That's me. That's
Yeah.
my screen. Okay, so I'm going to show you something real quick. I think it might be kind of the way I visualize it. So like, let me put a background up here. So like typically, we think of a journey like kind of like this, where you're like, oh yeah, this is deconstruction. You're just, you start here as a Christian, you end here as an atheist. But
Yeah.
it's a little bit more like this, and it feels like you're taking one step forward and two steps back. But it, when you're down here, you're like, oh, what the fuck's going on here, right? And when you're up here, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, obviously this is the thing, right? And it might feel
Yeah.
like you're vacillating, but over the long term, you're still making that trajectory. You're still getting there. You're just not getting there in a completely like linear fashion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, like a couple months ago, I landed myself in a area where like I was so in despair because of um, my beliefs deconstructing. I felt like I was like in the middle of the ocean, and like it was like 2,000 feet deep and I was all alone. And a lot of that is based because I've had um, what quote unquote mystical beliefs or
Mm-hmm.
um, experiences with the what Christians would call like the Holy Spirit. And I was curious, like, if you had anything like that, and what are your thoughts about that?
So that was one of the reasons why it took me a while to go from, even after I left Christianity, it took me a while to get from there to atheism, because I had some experiences that I thought were probably legitimate and worthwhile to consider. But as time went on and I started looking deeper and deeper into some of those things, they stopped being less interesting as a proof for God or an afterlife and being easier to explain rationally. And the other thing too is just thinking about, for me, one of the huge issues was the afterlife. The afterlife at some
Yeah.
point didn't make any sense. I
I'm
can't
kind of
square. What's that?
I'm sorry. I was saying that's the hardest thing because like for myself, I have children and pretty much I would guess that a lot of people think about this, but like if I was going to put myself in God's shoes, supposedly God, and say like because you don't believe in me, I'm going to sentence you to hell. I could never do that to my own children.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like that's what I kind of think, but then more recently I've been like, well, what if there's multiple pathways to God and they're all pathways to God and what we think about heaven and hell is totally false, and what if we just don't know what that is? Like cuz it seems like the whole world um is after they most of the world thinks that there's some kind of god or creator, and what if we're just all kind of led wrong by these spiritual practices that we inherit based on kind of where we're born and who we're born to? And what if like the books are partially true to get you to connect with the creator? So that's like where I'm at, and but at the same time I'm thinking like a lot of this just doesn't make sense and it's really like a mind warp.
Yeah, I mean, it is a mind warp. Um, so, like, you, where are you at right now? Do you kind of, because when I say afterlife, like when I'm saying the afterlife doesn't make any sense to me, I mean like any afterlife at all. I don't think the idea of living on past our expiration makes sense at all logistically for any reason. Not even the Christian version of the afterlife. I mean any afterlife, right? So, where are you at right now? Do you think that there's some kind of an afterlife, or?
So like a couple of weeks ago I would have said I think that when we take our last breath that's it, and it's just like going to sleep without no dreams and we don't remember anything else. And then part of me thinks like we're all connected and that we're like everything seems like it's connected in this on this planet, and that maybe we our energy our battery our spark of light might go into like a collective consciousness, but that doesn't make a lot of sense to me as well.
Hmm.
Like it's really difficult to know. And here's the deal that I realized at the end of the day, nobody really knows what happens when we die. Like a lot of people claim to know, but nobody really knows.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where I land. I oscillate between those two, and just the thought of a hell doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and as well as like a heaven at this point in my life. Um, Maybe I don't know because like I don't really at this point believe in spirits either. I don't really believe in a demon like demons or a demonic realm or angels, which I kind of did in the past. Well, I did in the past, but I think that those are all projections that we make up in our mind based on our fears and our anxieties. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do
Well,
you
let me ask you a
think?
question. Well, I don't think anything happens when we pass. Why? I
Yeah.
think your first notion is correct. That when you die, it's lights out. Why would someone believe that there's something other than that? Like, what's the evidence say that your consciousness could live on? Because, as far as I know, like our consciousness is just derived from our brain. Our brain is producing what we call consciousness.
So like, I understand that, and um, I think it's based on like conversations that I have with friends, and I think that thinking that there's an afterlife, it just helps people. This is what I think. I think it helps us to navigate this life and to not be afraid of death. Ultimately, I think it's a coping mechanism. I think that it's like ego driven as well. So, but I don't know. Like, I oscillate in between what I believe, and I appreciate having conversations like this because it helps me to land. And like, a thing that I think about all the time recently is like, what would we believe as people if none of these religious books were written, and what would we be doing? Like,
Yeah,
um
well, we wouldn't be, debating people on the internet about
no,
whether or not it's okay to sexually assault a woman because God said so. I know that much.
no, and I realize that. And like, I think that well, I know that, religion was created for control, and it seems like a lot of the Bible was formulated over thousands of years to control people. And there's part of me that still holds on to, you know, what if those things were just for that, and that there's a lot of us that are missing the mark? And what if, like, God is real, but he or she or it is just nothing that we can really fathom, like, or like if there's other dimensions that we're living in, I don't know. It seems like that could be a possibility, but I don't know. It's all very confusing.
Well, I mean, theoretically, anything's possible. Well, anything
Yeah.
that's logically possible, it seems to be impossible. But I mean, when we talk about what to believe, I don't think what we believe should be based on what ifs, right? If we're
Yeah.
asking, like, is there a God out there? Well, asking, saying things like, well, there could be, it's not really a foundation for belief system. It's a foundation for like shower thoughts. But like when we're
Yeah.
asking like what is the nature of the universe and reality, the thing that we need to be looking for is like where does the evidence point? If the evidence doesn't point towards God, well, it just seems to be that there's likely no God out there.
Yeah. So the only thing that really keeps me going back to, there's possibly a God, is when you think about the universe, when you think about this planet. um, we're, as far as we know, an anomaly. um, and that the thought of there being no intelligent design seems uh, hard to believe for me at this point.
Why is that?
Like, because the earth is pretty awesome. Um, there's a lot of things. Creation or nature is pretty awesome to me. And
Like in
the
which way? Because nature also like destroys everything. Like people die in natural disasters, and like I don't. What do you mean by awesome?
um, I think it's pretty beautiful. I think it's pretty complex. Like, trees communicate to each other, they heal each other. All of the different animals that there are on this planet is pretty incredible.
Well,
Um,
yeah, because that's
all
evolution. What's it got to do with a god though?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the that's the part that I'm hung up on. Like, but to me, evolution. So I before in my beliefs and as my well, I come from a family that doesn't really believe in evolution. Um, my whole adult life, I kind of believed that God created this earth and evolution was a part of it, you know. And to wrap my head around um, that this all existed out of the Big Bang Theory is it's just to me it's just as easy to believe that a God created it, you know, because a Big
Why?
Bang, I don't know, it just seems just as impossible to me.
Well, where's the hang up?
Does it
Where's the
not to
part
you?
that's impossible? No, but it's the only rational thing to think, I think. What's the part that's
You think,
impossible?
um, well, how come there's not other, if we're the only planet that has life on it in our galaxy, how come there's not other planets with life on it?
Why did
You
you think
know,
there aren't?
in our galaxy?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that there's not. Like, there's part of me that thinks that, you know, um, technology over time has been passed to us from maybe aliens or from humans that learned how to travel through different dimensions of time. I don't know. Like things like the the pyramids in Egypt don't make a lot of sense, and
What do you mean they
like
don't make sense?
um, you know, because those ancient civilizations supposedly built the pyramids, that doesn't make a lot of sense that they had the technology to do that.
What technology didn't they needed? They left us like drawings of how they did it.
I don't know, like to be able to um, get those huge rocks carved out and to be lifted that high doesn't seem like that's possible.
They didn't lift them, they slid them, they rolled them
To roll them uphill with what?
with teams of thousands of people.
Yeah, that doesn't seem plausible to me, but I
They
don't know.
they
Like,
literally showed you how they did it.
I don't know about that.
I could just show you a picture if you want.
Okay.
Oh boy. This is one such picture of Egyptians with teams, hundreds and hundreds of people with ropes dragging giant sleds with statues, large, intricate, carved statues.
Okay.
That's how
The
they moved
pyramids,
them.
though. The
Yeah,
pyramids, though.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that.
It's-
But
this is not like, I don't think this is very complicated. We've had lots and lots of plausible and replicatable pyramid building schemes for a very long time. Like, there's no, like, why would why would we think that some alien came to Earth to give them the technology to stack bricks real good?
this is just a theory of mine. You know, like that has come out. Like I didn't believe all of this before. It's kind of come out of this whole deconstruction because it's been so confusing for me.
Okay. Have you watched Ancient Aliens before?
No, no,
Okay.
no. I have not.
Okay. Well, never mind then. So, reality is, like, there's. It sounds to me like what you're working on here is like there are things that you have had shower thoughts about, but you haven't really researched yet. And you're just thinking like, oh, well, I don't know how they did it there for God, but I don't know. Have you considered like doing some in-depth research on it? Like looking at like actual scholarly articles and journals?
Where do you find scholarly articles about like creation and evolution?
I mean, just about any textbook you can buy in evolution. Fuck, I got one right here. Hold on. This one's by Carl Zimmer and Douglas Emlen. It's Evolution, Making Sense of Life. It's just a standard college issued textbook. And what I used to do back in the day was I would go to universities that had public syllabus or syllabi, and for the classes, and I would just look up the class that I wanted to learn and go download their syllabus and go buy their books. It's pretty easy.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, you can buy college level textbooks right on Amazon. You don't need anything special for that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this journey has been very, very confusing, you know, and at times frightening. But I kind of got over that period. So
it is frightening at first. I'll give you that one. It really is.
Yeah, it was really frightening, and it's still really confusing at times. But I just like see this trajectory of me just keep deconstructing and deconstructing. And what are your thoughts about us as people as a whole seeing God, like that thought of God as being ourselves? Because it kind of seems to me that we as humans, when we're believing in God, that's really attached to our individual selves. What do you think of that? Does that make sense to you?
No, a God can't be one of us because a God is specifically something that would have created us.
What I'm trying to say is that I'm not explaining this well. I don't think maybe I've talked a lot about this. Do you think that we believe God because out of ego?
No. Well, I think people believe in God because it helps them deal with the difficult parts of life, and because people believed in God for a very long time, and it's hard to abandon traditionally held belief systems.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Andrew,
appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. If you need book recommendations, join the Discord. Our Discord server, Deconstruction Junction, it's in all my profiles, and a lot of really good, smart people in there that will be able to lead you to really good recommendations.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right. Thanks. You too, friend.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I would say if you didn't go to like college, it can be daunting trying to figure out where can I find like good college level or like good academic type textbooks. Oh, my phone is drained. Why did it do that? But once that's the benefit, to me at least, of going to a good school is you learn how to do research, even if that research is not the field of study you went to school for. Like just learning how to do research, how to find resources is like super, super helpful. Finding resources is like the very first step of like learning, right? Rather than like, going to YouTube. Not that you couldn't do that. There's a lot of good sources on YouTube nowadays, but you're not going to get the same level of information, obviously. But friends, I'm going to read what's left of our super chats, and then I'm going to call it for the night. It is, it is now 1:20 in the morning, and I wasn't supposed to be up this late, but here we are. Nevertheless, although I do have one question. If you're in the comments, I have some light filtering on my microphone. Can you hear the background noise in my room? Can you hear like the air conditioner or anything going back here? I'm curious if I need more filtering or less filtering on this microphone. Like if I take a bite of this salad, can you hear me chewing? Because we don't want that. Hummus too. A really good hummus salad, which brings up another point. Oh, you can hear it? Okay. Let me do this. What about now? Is it better now? Do you hear less background noise? Some people are saying oh, it's okay, some people not so much. Mm. Okay. Sounds to me like the filtering's not working very well. Okay. That's what I need to know. Appreciate that. I turned the air conditioning up too, by the way. Just as for this test. Okay. I'll work on that. Appreciate it. I have another mic filter I can use. It's not the end of the world. I'd just rather use my this one. Oh, your voice is... Oh, it did change. Is this delayed? No chewing. Only... Oh, okay. The filtering must be better then. Like, oh, but it messes up my voice. It makes it sound tinny. Gotcha. Okay. That's what I need to know. Cool. I'll work on that. I'll work on the mic filters, and we'll be good to go then. Nevertheless, friends, I got a couple more super chats here. Guitar Atheist, good to see you, my friend. Says the Satanic Bible is way more moral than the Ten Commandments. Yeah, I mean, it's been a hot minute since I've read the Satanic Bible, though. I haven't read it since high school, so I don't fully recall exactly what it was like. But nevertheless, I do remember reading it and thinking to myself, "Oh, like this actually isn't all that bad." Like I didn't. What's all the concern for? You know what I mean? And also from Guitar Atheist says, "Billy ever tried fasting for 7 days?" Well, listen, fasting for 7 days will do some stuff to you. That is for sure. But I don't know if it's going to be helpful for Billy, at least. And also from Guitar Atheist, I believe death is like before you were born. Yeah, just blackness. You don't have any memories from before you were born, or any fears from before you were born, because you didn't exist. The same way you didn't exist before you were born, you're going to not exist after you die. And Guitar Atheist, again, thank you so much. If we can't travel past the solar system, why would we think aliens would be able to? True. That's a very good point. And even if they could, why would you think that they'd find us? If you think the vastness of space, why and how could they know to come and find us here, right? It would take a very, very long time to get to the point where reaching us was something that is like workable or findable. Dakota, thank you so much for the super chat. Dakota says, how much must be spent for a Volta surprise attack? I'll tell you what, Dakota, none. Volta will destroy my entire set for free of charge. I think he would pay to do it, in fact, if that was a possibility. Ken the Atheist says, where can we learn more about the Christian torture, like the disembowelment that you mentioned last week? I'll cover for Doug and Gay for Dustin. Good question. I have a book downstairs that talks about it a little bit. I'm trying to think of the exact name of it, though. On the Inquisition. Well, I got like 4 more chats left. Let me just go grab it real quick. I'll show you some of the books. Also, you can check out the Inquisition archives on Notre Dame's website. They've got a bunch of stuff, but unfortunately, a lot of it's in Latin. Here are some resources that I would recommend. The early days, you want Constantine's Sword, which unfortunately I've not read all the way through. I only got to skim this one, but this one is about the earliest days of the Christian Empire. This one is my favorite, called The Martyr's Mirror. These are primarily like Anabaptists who were tracked down, hunted down, murdered, exploited, and killed during the same time period. Then these two, The Spanish Inquisition by Joseph Perez, is a short introduction, and then a more beefier introduction, well, more beefier book, is The Inquisition by Francisco Bethencourt, a more detailed history. Those books would be really good for studying the topic. The Martyr's Mirror has a lot of first-hand like witness accounts of what happened, which is why I like it. And I've been digging through that one for a long time because the seminary I went to was Anabaptist, and that was like part of our cultural heritage. And so I think it's the best. I think it's amazing because you're getting first-hand accounts. So those are some of the places I would go to. Ampersand, my friend, thank you for the $10 super chat, says, I'm learning Hebrew. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What are the best resources for Hebrew scripture like Sepharia? That's one of them. That's good. Is there anything that lets you compare Hebrew text side by side, like Dead Sea Scrolls versus Masoretic text? Yeah. Shit, what's the one there was one recently that is floating around in the atheist community that another member of our community made. I know Godless Engineer is working on something now, and I'm actually helping him out to add some of these resources. But as for a side by side, see, one of the problems you're going to have is like a lot of the Greek and Hebrew resources don't compare it to the manuscript. It usually compares it like to critical texts, right? So you'll have like the Hebrew critical text next to an English text. Does that make sense? Like they don't usually compare it manuscript to manuscript. One thing you could do is get Eugene Ulrich's book called The Biblical Qumran Scrolls. It's a very easy to access critical edition that's got a easier apparatus to read at the bottom. But typically, if you're comparing manuscripts, you're going to get the BHS for the Old Testament, and you're going to get either the SBL or the Novum Testamentum, the Nestle Allen for the New Testament, and it gives you the critical edition and then all of the variants in the apparatus in the bottom, and then you can go look up those individual manuscripts yourself. As for like a manuscript to manuscript comparison, I gotta be honest, I don't know what you would use for that. I've got books full of the manuscripts, like so these are the Dead Sea Scrolls, but not translated into English. I mean, some of them did get translated into English now, but they've got the rendering of the complete Hebrew rendering of sometimes Aramaic rendering of the Dead Sea Scrolls in here. If you want to see what the scroll is actually saying. And then it also, you could get images from, which project am I thinking of that's got images of all the Dead Sea Scrolls? It's, something library. Let me grab it real quick. Yeah, the Leon Levy Dead Sea Scrolls Digital Library, which is now rebranded as deadseascrolls.org.il. That's a good resource. The other thing you can do is, Well, that might be it for now. Anything deeper than that, you're going to be spending some money, I would imagine. But yeah, check those resources out. I think it'll be helpful for you. And Ampersand with the follow-up says, also, what if the Jesus story was actually a culmination of many people all moving around at the same time, claiming to be the Messiah, and people just combined them over time? Actually, I love this idea, that there were multiple imposters of Jesus, and because there were multiples, that they built on each other. I could see that. That's more likely than a guy rising from the dead and being born from virgin, actually. I love that, Ampersand. And also from Ampersand says, how long must I wait until I can buy your goddamn book? Soon. Actually, I was supposed to be working on it this week. Looks like I'll have time for it. But it's coming, and I promise you it'll be worth the wait. It's not going to be one of these teeny tiny little booklets. It's a thick hossy boy. You're gonna appreciate it when it comes out. And last super chat from N Adventist. I think you mean, is that supposed to be An Adventist? Thank you for the $50 Canadian super chat. Huge W, my friend. I super appreciate that. Says X Seventh-day Adventist here. Well, congratulations for being an ex-SDA. I want to put Walter Vaith on your radar. This clown runs amazing discoveries. SDA version answers to Genesis. Claims to be ex-professor zoologist? Really? Pushes young Earth creation and anti-evolution, Illuminati, Freemason, Jesuit, end times, Daniel Revelation videos. Big SDA influencer. I've never heard. Let me go check out the YouTube page. I need to do some more response videos. It's just hard to get anything done over the summer, to be honest, for me. Let me see what it says. Walter Vaith. Walter Vaith. Is the channel Clash of Minds? That looks to be the channel. He's also on the Adventist Defense League. Okay, I see now. But yeah, it's a pretty sizable channel. I'll subscribe here. I'll do some response videos. I'd love to do some response videos of some of their bullshit on Revelation and Daniel. That's what I really need to do more of. I got to start doing more YouTube and TikTok response videos. That's the way to go. But the live streams are so much fun. Nevertheless, friends, that is all for tonight. I really appreciate your patience for being here and your kindness and your support throughout the mishaps with our stream. I learned a lot about the state of the new software package, namely that I think everything works other than the guest rooms now. The guest rooms need a little bit of tweaking. It turned out they only worked for a short time, and then they started overloading the servers, which is why I didn't catch them during my testing, because I was only testing them for 5 or 10 minutes and then turning them off. I didn't realize that when you turn the guest room on for an hour, it does all kinds of other crazy stuff. So my next stream, hopefully we'll have it fixed. And I think the software package is I could start signing off on it and getting some beta testers involved. For anyone who wants to be a beta tester, shoot me an email. I'll send you maybe some rights and access to the site, and we'll have it. So thank you so much, friends. I love you.